Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey everybody, happy day after Christmas. I hope everybody had a great one. We had a great one here, and I just wanted to say things look bright. So let's see what we have in the news from yesterday and today. So we'll get into it. It says the government advisor seeks to establish a sovereign wealth fund. You guys, sovereign wealth funds means they have a lot of cash or a lot of money to invest, and they're going to use those resources to do so. But anyway, it says the increase in foreign debts in the past decades was an alternative to establishing a sovereign fund for foreign wealth that relies on surplus oil revenues that can be invested in a diversified investment portfolio whose returns support the state's general budget in general and the investment budget, according to the absorption capacity in particular, similar to countries such as Norway, China, the Gulf countries, and other countries of the world. So they're just going to follow suit like everybody else. Now they've tried to do this on a few occasions, but obviously it just wasn't working out. I think this time, with the new electronic system coming in and the amount of money that they're going to be able to get, is going to change that dramatically, as we all know. Iraq falls within a second group, so they discuss previous experience with the sovereign wealth fund, how they didn't go get funded. But look, this article is in patreon.com/MM&C-CREW. Come on in and join us. I think you'll like to read what you have to say, because all the things that I'm talking about are in print, okay? It's basically just about me reading the news. But I wouldn't be surprised if all of this gets into an establishment phase. In other words, they're going to establish it. It is Iraq that's going to have far more revenues than most people think. It's going to be big. The non-oil revenues, they expect the gas flaring to be effectively over with in not a very long time, but they expect it ASAP to be down to about 20%. So what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to export liquid natural gas, I guess, or associated gas, etc. I'm not a gas guy, but the bottom line is they use it for energy, and it's going to be big. Remember, Iraq was spending between, I don't know, $1 and $4 billion a year on buying fuel for electricity. I think that's going to come to a halt, because they've really got to the point where they're working forward. They have some contracts with Siemens. The German name, it's a tough one, but it is, let's see if I can find it here. Oh, well, anyway, there's two major global companies involved in that, and they've invested already, and that's what they're working on. So Iraq's going to be self-sufficient in their energy use, and one of those is something they've been wasting for many, many years. But moving on to the next one, it says here, Iraq establishes an investment portfolio to support stability of the national currency. The economic advisor to the Prime Minister, Mohammed Saleh, revealed Iraq's first step after extinguishing its foreign debt towards establishing an investment portfolio to support the stability of the national currency. So they're talking about since 2004, Iraq was able to extinguish about $100 billion of its accumulated debts, known as the pre-1990 debts resulting from wars and conflicts. We all know about that. Basically, it says, with the improvement in the current account of the balance of payments, the first step taken by Iraq was to establish an investment portfolio of foreign reserves, or what it is called, the country's foreign exchange reserves, that perform the function of stabilizing the value of the national currency, or what is called the external value of the money. Interesting, they use the external value of the money, so going to be valued maybe differently externally, and that's powerful. They differ from traditional sovereign funds in that their assets are characterized by high liquidity or investment in liquid or semi-liquid assets, and are subject to highly accurate diversification rule in foreign currencies and highly liquid financial investment tools by virtue of their function as international reserves, supporting the balance of payments and stabilizing the value of the national currency. So Iraq effectively may not have been able to do what they're going to do is because they just didn't quite get into that private sector situation. And I believe that that's going to be done because they have now all these new non-oil revenues. And hence, the last bit was about providing a sovereign wealth fund. And so that's going to be a lot of additional money that's coming in above and beyond, and in some cases at least a third of what the oil monies are in just one case, and that's tourism. Remember? Okay. But then now you have that flaring of that gas not going to waste. It's going to be ready to be what? It's going to be not only used in country to be self-sufficient, but it's going to also allow it to be able to export it, extra revenues. So they're not going to be spending money up front about energy anymore. They're also going to be able to use that totality of all that cash to be able to fund their portions of the budget, but they're also going to profit from it. Again, helps with the budget. Okay, so it's really good. So there's nothing wrong with diversifying her assets with foreign currencies. This system is, they say, highly accurate diversification that are highly liquid financial tools, and they will be a part of Iraq's portfolios into the future, and her reserves are by far more than what is needed in the IMF's terms. They have about 140% covered. So everything has been stable, inflation's been down. It's a very good sign. So keep that in mind, especially as we go forward, because I mean this is like a day-to-day situation. So here it says the Iraqi Stock Exchange ranks first in the Arab world in trading volume for number. Now, why in the world would their situation with the ISX become such a powerful place where in 1 month they increased 131.24% in volume? Volume means activity, and usually that kind of activity creates price adjustments up. Because why? Supply demand. It says the Iraqi Stock Exchange achieved a growth in trading volumes of 131% during November 2024 compared to previous month, leading the Arab financial markets in terms of growth rates. So Iraq's, in its present state, is already starting to show the volume has been increasing, and that means investors are coming in. This progress comes as a result of ongoing efforts to develop the Iraqi Stock Exchange and enhance its investment environment. And that's exactly right. People are going to see this, and they're going to act on it, and they're going to invest in all the different sectors of Iraq. The Arab Monetary Fund, they've had some things to say. It says the report issued by the Arab Monetary Fund enhances the position of the Iraq Stock Exchange among the regional markets, stressing that we will work to invest this progress to strengthen strategic partnerships and attract more local and international investments. The Commission is committed to continuing to develop the market's infrastructure and improve regulatory procedures to increase its attractiveness, which contributes to enhancing its role as a major driver of economic growth. So the Arab Monetary Fund report indicated that the Arab financial markets that witnessed remarkable growth include the Damascus Stock Exchange, which achieved a growth rate of 87%, followed by the Bahrain Stock Exchange, 68.22%. Other markets such as Egypt, Casablanca, also recorded growth rates ranging from 54.25 and 19.0%. I would bet that Al-Alaq is starting to watch the markets, and he knows that there's going to be it's a timing mechanism, and so you're going to have to see that the timing mechanism that's involved here is probably something that he has to consider to adjust the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar with a real effective exchange rate to coincide with the markets. And it sounds like, from what they're saying, that it's already has a stabilizing effect and an increase, because a lot of those countries they have open trade with Iraq, and if they hold dinar, as our dear friend Petra has always said, all boats rise with the tide. We all know that not all boats rise with the tide, but the bottom line is that in this particular case, as you can see, Iraq's volume, they beat those countries by, well, they are at 131%, and you can see the subsequent decline. But the bottom line is they're all up, and that has a reflection of the timing. That's possibly what that shows. That's what I see in it. The next article we have today it's from the Justice Department. It says activating the verification of foreign agencies system in Iraq. And what are they talking about? The Ministry of Justice, in cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, announced earlier the activation of the system for verifying the validity of agencies outside Iraq. They call it the ICASS. What it is, it's in real estate registration departments with the aim of enhancing transparency, reducing the risks of forgery in real estate transactions. Right? A lot of people will be coming in, doing business. They want transparency, especially investors. They're going to need assurances. Okay, it says the new system allows direct electronic linkage between the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to immediately verify the validity of agencies issued by Iraq embassies and consulates abroad, which contributes to facilitating procedures, accelerating the completion of real estate transactions. So those are some pretty big names, some really important names. And what are they trying to do? They want to accelerate the completion of the real estate transactions in an accurate manner. They want to verify it, make sure it's transparent. So it says this procedure comes with the framework of ongoing efforts to enhance the e-governance in government institutions and achieve the highest levels of trust in official documents, reflecting the ministry's commitment to developing judicial services and ensuring the protections of citizens' rights. So obviously there's progress moving on forward, and it's showing that Iraq means business now. Okay. Al-Sudani's advisor reassures via outlets, news for instance, but about the rise of the dollar is a temporary market bubble. What are they talking about? They're talking about the black market. We'll get into it, but it's basically a reassurance from a transition to a new mechanism. It says it's expected that the market, due to the end of the previous foreign transfer platform and the transition to new mechanisms for strengthening with foreign currency to meet the bank's needs for foreign currency to finance foreign trade, was accompanied by a wave of misinformation and misunderstanding and confusion that was exploited by the parallel market and speculators for quick profit. So basically they're going after the black market, right? Because they've been taking people's money and making money. But that market has shrunk. Was at 95%. Now I think it's about 97%. And maybe even less than that, because they have been warned. Okay, he considers that this increase is called a temporary market bubble that is built on unrealistic speculation and disappears over time, which requires attention to the phenomenon of exploitation and profiteering generated by the false and baseless information. So they're basically making a reassurance to the citizens, and they're making a reassurance to the investors of the world that be careful. He explains that the rumor's false, as 97% of the transfers made through the window, that's what they've changed the name to, the window, as opposed to auction, okay, made through the window were transferred to banks that have correspondent banks in a way that enhances the balances. And they talk about the Christmas holiday and other reasons for the demand of the dollar. But ultimately, the illegal market is what's creating that environment. And they're telling you that it's basically going to go away. And we've been saying that for a long time. But it's nice to see it in print. Okay, Al-Mashandani, he expected that the situation will stabilize and the dollar will return to its normal status after the holiday. And so does that mean that Iraq's going to have a normal status, meaning that they're going to have an international exchange rate? It sounds like it. That's what it sounds like. This next article is from the Transportation and Contracts. It's what it's called. Transportation and Contracts raise the cost of exporting the region's oil in Baghdad and Erbil, and they reach an initial agreement. That's between Baghdad and Erbil, and it's about oil and those contracts, etc. It says there is an initial agreement between the federal government and the Kurdistan region regarding the resumption of oil exports at a capacity of that 400,000 barrels a day, with the adoption of export of cost of $16 a barrel, and an increase of $10 compared to the previous proposed $6. So anyway, there's more to this, but it's basically what it is. This increase is going to come as a result of the nature of contracts concluded with the region with producing companies, which depend on the participation system instead of service contracts, in addition to the transportation challenges associated with the nature of the land and long distances between the region and the Turkish port of Ceyhan. So ultimately, they've come to a conclusion, they've come to an agreement, and they're basically moving forward with it. Basically stresses that addressing these files requires a comprehensive agreement that guarantees the rights of both parties, companies, and achieves the interest of Iraq in general. And so ultimately, they're still looking out for the citizens, they're looking out for the businesses, but they needed to get the contracts that were probably skewed in the Kurdistan region, get them sorted, come up with a reasonable cost. They probably had some of the largest entities, accounting firms, working on this to be able to sort that out and to be fair. And with the new electronic system, the transparency is going to come into play. And so that Iraq's going to, what they said, they're going to have a sovereign wealth fund. Why? Because they're going to have accuracy with the money flow across borders. Inputs and outputs, it's going to be a big deal. So here's an article, is that what is the fate of amending the article on regional oil in the budget? A representative answers, he thinks he's answering the question, but we'll see. It says the MP for the State of Law Parliamentary Bloc confirmed Wednesday that the government's request to amend the article on regional oil in the 3-year budget will proceed during the next legislative session due to the existence of an understanding between the center and the region. You guys realize that there was some things that were done already. We'll get to it. So some of these things, you're going to be careful on how you read it and say it's so, it sounds like it's got a lot more time. I'd be careful with that. The government's request to Parliament to amend Article 12 regarding, I think it's Article 12C, but that's been in print, but they don't say it here tonight anyway. The next legislative session, due to the existence of an understanding between the Central Bank of the region, but the government's request to Parliament to amend the Article 12 regarding the Kurdistan's regional oil and to include it in the region's share in the 3-year budget will proceed during the next legislative session without any objection, due to the existence of understandings between the central and regional governments as a result of long discussions that took place between the two sides' specialized committees. The amendment will ensure for the first time the federal government will have control over the region's oil, and it will also be a positive step in legislating the oil and gas law. For the first time, the regional government handed over to the federal government the revenues of the border crossings located within the region. That's big, you guys. For the first time, the region government, Kurdistan, handed over to the federal government the revenues of the border crossings located within the region. Why? Because the unified electronic system has been hooked up. We talked about that, and that's powerful, okay? So to me, there's already been information on Article 12C, I think, within the item, I think it is, in the publication that was in the Gazette, number 4805. Okay, it was published by, it was published, but it wasn't just published in the Gazette, but it wasn't exposed for the public's view, so you really couldn't click on it and read it. or translated. So they're hiding it. To me, it's privacy. It's effectively could be considered a legal cover until Iraq decides to show it. That's what it looks like to me. Is Al-Awlaq watching the stock market? Is he waiting for the proper time to expose that 4805? It looks like it. That's what it appears to be. We'll see how that turns out. So it says, here's the Nineveh governor. He says 3 consulting companies will work at Mosul airport. Well, why is this kind of important? Well, airports are big for internationalism. Investors got to fly into airports, Baghdad, Erbil, wherever. But that's what they're going to do. So they're going to showcase their airport because that's an international situation. Flights, airspace, lots of things. This gentleman has a few paragraphs. I'll let you guys look it over when you come into patreon.com/MM&C-REW. Our Discord chat room has all of that information. Super Samson, our newshound, brings in a plethora of data. And then obviously you guys are welcomed by the likes of Gigi, and then you can come in and see folks, the crew, Petra, Poppy Peter, etc. Everybody would be happy to have you. And that means globally. I mean, we have a huge audience, and that audience is global. Okay. It says, he points out that the airport will be an icon and turning point to attract investors and capital to create development for the Nineveh region, explaining that there are no technicals, there's no financial or legal problems in the Mosul airport project, and the opening of the airport has become only a matter of time. He states that there's 2 Turkish companies implemented the airport, namely the TAV and the 77 INSAT, in addition to the fact that there are 3 consulting companies working on the Mosul airport, one of which specializes in construction of the airport. Other specializes in the basic design of that. Well, the guys that are building it are going to need to design. And the third specializes in the airspace surrounding it. So basically it's stated that the Mosul airport will be completed according to the required time and technical specifications. So it's forthcoming. It's unbelievable. Last but not least, there's the deliberate delays from the government. This is going to be interesting, I think. It's blurry, quote, blurry about the 2025 budget. So Parliament, we don't know anything about it yet, they say. Well, I think they do. Okay, Al-Shamarmi, he, in an interview with news outlets, according to the financial management law, the budget or its schedules must reach the House of Representatives at the end of the 10th of each year, and any delay in doing so is a legal violation, especially since this violation has been repeated for many years. Recall now, 4805 has already been in the Gazette, but it hasn't been exposed. Has it not been exposed to the Arabic side of the information? Maybe not. Has it exposed to the English side of their business? Probably not. We haven't seen it. It says the budget tables for 2025 so far, the House of Representatives does not know anything about them. And the delay in sending them is a violation, and there's no specific date for sending those. Do they have a legal cover at this stage with the 4805 having already been published, but they haven't exposed it? I would say that this makes me think that they do have a legal cover for it. It's because they've actually published it. It's out there. They told you that it was going to be about the 2023, 24, 25 budget. It's going to be an amendment. They talked about the 12 amendment. They talked about it 12C even at least once in print. So we're going to have to find out. It says here, the government may link the sending of tables with the amendment of the law proposed in Parliament, and this will delay the sending of tables for a long time due to differences over the origin of the amendment. I think that's misleading. I don't think that's what they've done. I think that 4805 has already been published, and that's where that legal cover comes from. That's our view on it, okay? We're going to have to find out and see how it works out. So back on December 19th, 2024, they said the political differences over the amendment of the budget law will delay voting on the 2025 budget schedules, indicating that the Iraqi government is awaiting for the amendment of the budget by Parliament until the tables for 2025 are sent to it according to the amendments. So they're suggesting that they're waiting for that. Well, they need to have the final accounts for 23-24 before they ever send those, remember? Okay, so did they? Have they exposed it and opened it for everybody? You've got to remember, they have a hierarchy over there, and you have a need to know. And if you don't have a need to know, and it's really sensitive, and they're holding something back, which we believe is that real effective exchange rate embedded in there, we're going to find that out if that comes true. I got a good strong feeling it's definitely going to be something similar. I'm cautious, of course, because there was that publication in the Gazette. It's been out already to be exposed, but again, you can't read it. It's just know that it's already publicly and done what they said they were going to do, so they may very well have a legal cover. Okay. It appears that amendment was needed by the government to conceal it until the right time. That's our view on it, or my view anyway. To me, it's literally, it looks like the ball is literally in the central bank's court at this time. Iraq has to have some secrecy to some degree because, well, it's so highly sensitive. It's going to have shocks. It's going to have an impact. And Al-Alaq would have to need to know what the market is. And if you remember what we talked about, Iraq Stock Exchange has already shown complete stability. It's huge. It's up 131% in 1 month. All of those neighbors' stock exchanges are starting to get a rise because they might be exposed to where? Iraq. Okay? All those countries exposed to Iraq. For what? Investment. So hey, you guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed tonight. It's kind of brief, but the bottom line is, does it look good? Absolutely, 100%. Happy to say it. Really am. So hope, again, everybody had a Merry Christmas. And by the way, if you guys like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and also do me a favor. Be with us and follow along, because we're looking like we're talking about something that's going to transpire and morph into other things, because investment's going to be a big deal in Iraq. And there's going to be tools. There's going to be things that we can talk about probably. We have technologies that are allowing these new mechanisms to come through. The transparency, right? We talked about those blockchains. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But thank you very much for all your support, all those kind words for the holidays. Very much appreciated, every single one of you. God bless you. And thank you for those donations to help keep this channel going. And I hope that I'm going to be around to be able to help you with other things. And those Venmo, PayPal, and Zelle help so much. Thank you again. We appreciate you.
Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.